Let me now talk about something called S3 storage tier. I would take another analogy to explain things to you. We all, maybe some of you may have visited London, and in London, we have something called different transport zones. Right? This is what they call underground tube map, but I'll show you a very better example from a Google map so you can relate what I'm talking about. So London is divided into different transport zone, and you are charged from one transport zone to another transport zone. So this is how the things are. This is called zone 1, the London where it is written. This one is where lots of tourist attractions are. Covent Garden, Mayfair, Paddington, you want to go to see Westminster, or you are going to go to London Eye. All of these things are on this area, which is called my zone number 1. So zone 1 is where all the tourist attractions are. And then all other places, there are other things which you can go for. So we'll talk about how these things. Let me give an example and I'll talk about how this relates to S3. Now, let's say I am visiting London for 10 days. 10 days as tourist. Now, I may want to obviously visit central London as we call it. And I may want to visit other places outside. Let's say I want to then go to Cardiff, maybe I want to go to Manchester, or I want to go to Leeds, maybe I want to go from there, let's say, to Cambridge to visit some universities and all. So this is my plan. I want to visit for 5 days. May want to visit central London, and for remaining 5 days I would be going to outside of London. Right? Obviously, when I'm visiting London as a tourist, I would need a hotel, right? So let's try to understand that concept, that how I would be taking care of the things. Let me show an example. Now, let's say this is central London. Now, these are different zones: zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and zone 4. London transport is divided like this. And as I told you that most of the tourist attraction are into central London, this is called zone 1. So if I'm visiting these tourist places, I have to worry about two costs: hotel cost, right? And I have to worry about the transport cost. Let me explain that. Hotel cost is when I stay. Obviously, when this is a tourist place, hotel cost into central London or zone 1 would be much higher, isn't it? Why? Because that one is very popular and we would be paying a lot of money, not three figures, but maybe a good amount of money I would be paying to stay into hotel into zone 1. But advantage is, if I'm in zone 1, probably I can just walk or just use underground and only be in zone 1, so my transport cost would be much lesser. So I would prefer that when I have to go to central London every day and visit the places, maybe for 5 days, let me stay into zone 1 so that I save on transport cost. I am paying more on hotel, but I am saving on transport cost, right? Next one. If after 5 days I have to go outside of London, which means I don't have to come to zone 1 anymore. I would be taking trains or buses or maybe something else from outside of the London. So what is the point to stay in zone 1? Let me store, let's say, into zone 6, which means I would be paying less money for hotel. And if requirement comes that I have to come to central London to catch air taxi or something, or maybe just one place I could not enter, I have to come. For that particular moment I will come, I would pay more cost for transport in that case. Hope you're getting the idea. So these are two different use cases. Visiting central London is a use case. Going outside of London is a use case. So in some cases, it would make sense to stay into central London because you would be able to store transport cost. In some cases, it would make sense to stay into zone 6 because you would be saving the hotel cost. Now, how all these relate to AWS, let me try to explain this thing. What I'm going to do you to show, I would be showing an example of how all these things work together. Go, give me a minute. I'll talk about how these things work. Now, in S3, when I was uploading an object, let me try to upload an object again. I have option to select different storage classes. I would again click on upload button. And on this upload button, let's say I am trying to upload an individual file. In previously, I haven't shown you that example, but let's say now this is a Kindle Create icon which I want to upload. This is 74. This is big. Let's not upload it. Okay, let me just show that. Now, here in the properties, you have something called storage class. And these are different storage classes which S3 offers: standard, intelligent tiering, standard infrequent access, one zone, glacier, and all. These are different classes. And see this. This one is designed for frequently accessed data, more than once a month access with millisecond access. So you would get your data much faster, but this will charge you higher. Availability zone, it will be copied into three. Then we have one zone. Let's talk about something called standard IA. It says infrequent access. Infrequent access data once with millisecond access, but maybe you plan to access this data once a month. Better is to keep it into standard IA. Let me show the difference between prices. I would be quickly going through simple monthly calculator and I would show you from there. AWS simple monthly calculator. There is different prices associated with different tiers or storage classes of S3. I am going to show you that example. Right. This is my simple monthly calculator. Let's go ahead and see some details around it, how it actually works for me. Let it render. Now I'm running a little bit out of time. Alex and Jamila, for your session, probably we would extend it if everybody is okay. Let's see. Let me just explain this and I'll hand it over to you then. So now I am going into Amazon S3 here. Hope you remember this tool from last discussion. So I'm in S3 and I am storing, let's say, in standard storage, 10,000 GB of data. And I am expecting that requests coming to that put copy and paste would be 100,000. Just give an example here, right? So what I did, I have put some numbers here that I would be storing 10,000 GB of data into S3 standard, and these many requests would come for access. Okay, let's see the difference here. Now the price. I'm checking the price here. How much I would pay for? I would pay for $230.50. Let's say explain that. I would be paying for S3 storage, which will be $230, right? This much I would be paying for storage cost, and then 0.50 I would be paying for the put cost. Let's see, we say standard put request is what I would be paying for. Let me put it on a notepad so we can relate this stuff in a different tier in a minute. Give me a minute. I'll bring the notepad and we will store it there. So this is my S3 standard. My cost is $230, and how much I am paying for access, I am paying 0.50. This was get request, sorry, put request. Let me do a get here instead of this get. So get is this many requests, and obviously I can see now my cost is different, 230, and I am paying for 0.004 here. So let me note down this number. I would keep the same data, but I would change its tier. Let me reset this form, and I would change its tier to a different tier called standard infrequent tier. So this is my standard infrequent access tier. Same 10,000 GB data, but I would be having the similar request of 100,000. And let's see the price now. See the price? Price is 125.10. What happened here? Let's see. In this case, I am paying 125 for the storage cost. Hope you are getting the idea. And I am paying 0.10 for the access cost. You get the difference? I am paying less for storage, but I am paying more for access. This is what type of storage tier I have used. I have used this S3 infrequent access. Right? Let's reset it and let's talk about one more tier, which is called Glacier. So what I'm going to do now, I am resetting it, and now I am going to S3 Glacier. I would be storing the same 10,000 GB data here, but I would be having retrieval of the number of requests. If you see here, retrieval request is same 100,000. Let's see what is the difference now. Let's see the pricing. Cost is $41 only. What is the difference here? My cost for storage has come much lower, as you can see, but my storage excess cost has become higher. So what I'm trying to explain you here, that if you feel that your data is going to be used again and again very frequently, better to keep it into here. If you store your data and it is not going to be accessed frequently, put it into infrequent access tier. And if you want to store it for a very long period, better would be to put it into Glacier. So we give you mechanism to put your data into the tier of your choice, whether it is a standard, whether it is infrequent access, whether it is Glacier, and you can move this data automatically. Let me give you a simple example on that. Let's say you have a HR application. There is an open position in your company. HR has a mandate that in 30 days this position has to be filled up. So HR, he or she would be calling a lot of people to submit their resumes. Lot of people would send. Let's say we got 200 resumes. Just give an example. So for 30 days, HR would be frantically working on these resumes, scheduling interview, calling these people, and we would need them. But after 30 days, let's say position is filled, we don't want to delete it. For initially, I would keep it into S3 standard tier. But after 30 days, I would say, all right, I don't want to use them frequently. I want to save money in storage. So let me now move this to infrequent access for after 30 days, and I can automate it. Afterwards, I would be keeping this data. Let's say mandate is that you have to keep this data for at least 1 year, whoever submitted the resume in the system. And after 1 year, I can say I would put it into Glacier, which is much cheaper in terms of cost, but I'm not accessing it again and again. And then I can say afterwards, after 2 years, I would be completely deleting that. I do not need it. So idea is that it is up to you where you want to keep your data, and that's how we are able to save a lot of money, right? So it's a good way to store your data. Lots and lots of options are available into S3, and by which you are able to store data and keep it. So say in city center, you pay more hotel, less for taxi. You move away, you pay less for hotel, but you pay more for taxi if you are coming back to city center. So hopefully everyone is aware now what can be done, and these things can be automated as we see. So we can go through S3 standard, move to infrequent access, then from there move to Glacier, then expire that data, and similar stuff can be done by something called intelligent tiering.